Melbourne Cocktail Festival is a really great step forward in terms of really coming together
to build health and resilience in the industry.
We see this significant change in a mixology world and a coffee world.
Because we don't have this prescribed educational path, we all really have to build that curriculum, to build that education, much like we were doing today.
So using these digital tools, we can understand the ergonomics, the efficiency and the metrics of the bar, and then also start to collaborate worldwide.
We're learning about the importance of mental health, sustainability for our bodies, our minds, for the produce that we use.
Honest and inclusive connection makes everything, including what's in your glass, taste better.
Hi, how are you? I hope you don't mind this. Anyone that's ever been served by me or worked with me or been in my presence knows that I use hands a lot. So hopefully between this and this, it'll kind of keep me grounded. Before I begin, I would like to take the time to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Bunwurrung and Wurundjeri people of the Coleman Nation, elders past and present. And any First Nations people in this room. I was born and raised in the beautiful Kurungay country in the north of the Eora Nation, and I encourage people to find out the true names of the places that they were born and raised, and to do acknowledgements like this before they begin talks, because our words have power and the meaning to change. Melbourne has been a place of significant Aboriginal history and revolution, and it's important that we realise this when we are working on this land. Thank you. Right, empathy is your identity. We've got this. All right, cool. Okay, great, thanks. Thank you so much, that was awesome. All right. Right, so the days of working in hospitality, being seen as a placeholder until we have our real job come up, is well and truly behind us. And the reality is that for millions of us globally, this has been our chosen career and has been within our blood for as long as we can remember. I don't know about you, but I've sat at a table in the corner of a dive bar with many drunken bartenders telling me how bartending is one of the oldest professions in the world. Despite that, I think that we need to take a second to realise that this kind of exaggerated force to recognising that it's a real career has only really happened in the last 40 years. And because of that, a lot of stuff has changed and a lot of stuff we're still learning. We're learning our rights, we're learning about the importance of mental health, sustainability for our bodies, our minds, for the produce that we use. We're sharing information globally via Instagram, via pop-ups, all of these kinds of things. We are sucking at the teat of any information we can get. We're showing up at these forums, these symposiums. We are looking at every Instagram page. We are reading every cocktail book. We are showing up at the best bars in our city and sitting at the bar and asking sometimes incredibly inane questions, but also really important ones. Because we haven't taken this seriously for a really long time, you know, it has led to a couple of things. Maybe we don't take our career progression as seriously. Maybe we're not looking at our wages correctly, our career progression, or our rights within the workplace. But as an entity, we are learning really, really quickly. Like, we are already seeing discussions around mental health, discussions around the importance of physical exercise and all of these kinds of things. So we are catching up. But I do think that there is a missing piece of the puzzle that we need to be talking about, and that's kind of what I'm here about today. For me, I believe that the missing piece of the puzzle is that we need to be placing a priority on educating people around leadership and emotional intelligence within the workplace. So I understand why this may have been not prioritised up until now. We work in a very male-dominated industry, which is fantastic in a lot of ways. When we look at male energy and what's attributed to it, we look at decisive action, we look at critical thinking, sometimes impulse-led, sometimes not, and creativity, product knowledge, all of these kinds of things are fantastic. But what we need to be focusing on now, which is intrinsic to our industry, is connection, nurturing relationships, communication, and empathy. And if we are drawn to hospitality, there is such a huge chance that you are naturally an empath. I love to serve. I get a kick out of it. It can be really exhausting at times, but that's what I come for. And we all find our nuances within the industry, but ultimately what it comes down to at the end of the day is really that having something and sharing it with someone else. And this kind of talk envelopes that. I think the TO's boys did a phenomenal job, by the way. And mine kind of want to talk more in regards to how we as like career hospitality people can kind of do this when we're passing on to the people that we work with and the people that we lead. When we think about someone that bleeds hospitality, we kind of have this like incredible eclectic kind of combination, right? They have an amazing work ethic, they present well, they're trustworthy, they're creative, they communicate well, they're naturally warm, you know? And if we're lucky, we kind of find these people that have all of these things, and it's really, really magical. The interesting thing, though, is that you need a balance with all of this. There is a male energy and a feminine energy. Take of that what you will, by the way. It's not like some archaic stereotype, but this kind of idea that there is a yin and yang that exists within our industry, and then very, very personally within us as people as well. So just like a pendulum that can swing too far to either side, we need to recognize that, like, if we're nurturing connection too much, if we're like very, very in the moment and only about personal relationships and the pendulum is swinging too far to one side, and just like if all we care about is the creativity of a drink and all we care about is the process and the spirit and the distillate, and we don't give a shit about the person that's sitting in front of us, then really the pendulum is swinging too far to the other side. So it's about finding that balance. So this is the first time I've used a clicker, so I'm moving up in the world. All right, so we are going to talk about, perfect, this is good. Good thing I'm not relying on it. Okay, cool. So for me, when I was thinking about this, when you really kind of distill it down, good customer service is code word for empathy. And empathy is different from compassion, it's different from sympathy. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes. And you might see that in service when someone comes in and they have a really hard day. You know, when you feel that, you want to like fix it or nurture it or envelope them or, you know, give them the space that they need. We intrinsically have empathy run through all veins of hospitality. But good customer service, when we first start out at bartenders, I'm sure we can all remember this, everything is based on good customer service. Greet, talk loudly, make the experience the best possible one that you can do. You know, give suggestions, walk people to the front door, you know, write down on a piece of paper, be nuanced, be individual, be specific, like go above and beyond. We have all of these things that are so customer facing. And the irony is that eventually we get recognized. We put in the hours, we get seen by our managers, by our owners, and they recognize our hard work, and then they go like, okay, we want to move you up into management. And then this conversation around good customer service, it stops. And suddenly you're faced with deputy and the importance of timesheets. You are faced with COGS and the importance of making sure that everyone signs in and out, and the cost of goods, and, you know, trying to get the lowest price and making sure that the specs are correct. And I think, of course, that is so important, but it's incredibly wild that this idea of empathy and communication and nurturing connection, whether it's with your customer or whether it's with your team members, just stops. We just stop learning, and it's, you know, we don't allocate any time to say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to lead. And so we step into management, and sometimes it's imperceptible, the shift. We don't notice it, maybe because we've stepped into this role and we're so in our own head, or we don't notice it for whatever reason. But I know that we all step into rooms sometimes with people that we really admire or we really respect, and we shift. The way that we carry ourselves, the way that we articulate ourselves, the things that we talk about, everything changes. And that same thing happens to you. And like I said, sometimes it's imperceptible because it goes, you're just like a bartender and then you're a supervisor. And these are the same people that you're still getting drunk with after work or mid-shift, and then you slowly move to management. And so we don't recognize that these people are slowly changing the way that they communicate to us. And maybe we don't change the way we communicate to them, or maybe we do, but no one tells us how to. And suddenly we're managing a team of our best friends and we don't know how to tell them when they've done something wrong or when they've done something right and how to be specific about it. And so it's kind of that whole thing that we're talking about now. Great. And just to follow on from that as well, like we currently have all of these online education platforms that are making us check in with our classic specs. We can sit our WESET, we can go to the European bartending school and be taught how to hold a bottle and do all of these things, and yet it's interesting that this like entire 50% of our learning curriculum is just like, and I get it, it's hard to, how do we measure it, but it's just not even being recognised anymore. Which brings me to, yes, this is right. Okay, how to be a good manager, 101. Great. So, who am I to tell you what to say? No, I'm not. Okay, great. So, number 1, treat other people how you want to be treated. So obvious. I take this into service every single day. And I know that a lot of this stuff is going to sound a little bit basic or a little bit cliche, but it is. It's you have to come home. The Connaught boys touched on it, like come home to that very essence, that simple thing. Like at the end of the day, it's that exchange. But treat people how you want to be treated. We want to be trusted. We want to be motivated. We want to be supported, and we want to be seen, right? And whether that's as a bartender or as a manager or in whatever industry we're in. And we kind of need to recognize that that doesn't adjust, but we need to adjust to the people that we work with. A very, very brilliant man once told me that you have 2 places or 2 roles within your job as a manager. The first role is that you need to learn how to do everything. You need to learn cogs. You need to know where the electrical switches are. You need to know the number for the recycling bin pickup. You need to know how to politely remove someone from a venue. The second half of that is that you need to learn how to train everyone else to do that. When we get passed on and we get moved up into management, we tighten our grip around these responsibilities that we're given. And I think that we do it for a number of different reasons, right? We do it because it's a sense of power, and we do it because we're proud, and we do it because maybe it'll get us a raise, but we do it also because we just get defined by our allocated jobs. And the thing that happens with this, though, is that it can actually really quickly become a detriment if we don't teach people how to do the things that we know how to do. The venue becomes dependent on you. And I know that, like, ego-wise, that sounds really nice at the beginning, because who doesn't want people that we love and respect to be dependent on us? But the team will become resentful. The venue becomes resentful. You go on holiday, you get called every day, no one can do anything without you, and it's annoying. It's annoying for everyone involved. But more than that, it's important to remember that we were young once. I like to think I'm still young, but we were young once, we were hungry, we fucking wanted to be taught, and we wanted to be in a room with people that we loved and respected. When I first started my bartending career, the idea that I got to sit at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning and go over like the most boring back of house financials with just the owner, that meant the world to me. Maybe I didn't articulate it correctly. The fact that I got one-on-one time to like suck the nectar from his brain and be like, ask all these questions, it meant a lot. So don't be desensitized to the fact that you're now an owner and you're a manager and that you're a leader. And the same thing flows into service as well. Don't be desensitized to the fact that sometimes people like come into the bar and they just really want to hang out with you for a little bit. So yes, very important. All right, number 2, training. Training, like empathy, is a skill. You have to get better at it. You have to train yourself how to train. All of these are really, really wide and varied, so I'm trying to distill everything. But essentially with training, remember to give clear guidelines, set outcomes for it as well. So like, this is what our achievable goal is and this is how we're gonna do it. And make sure that everyone in the team is run through the exact same way. There's nothing worse than being like, oh, well, Paige showed me how to do something and then someone else says it and then there's like a kind of a competition. I always, when training people, show them how to do it first. If you want to get down to real basics, I will always say piece of paper and a pen. You have to be showing up. This is like everything else, yin and yang, pendulum swing. There are two parties involved in this. You need to have that person show up and maybe they don't know how to absorb information. Piece of paper and a pen, write everything down. You're not going to remember it. And so then I will show them how to do it. The second time, I will step behind them, allow them to do it. And then the third time I step away and say, hey, just give us a yell if you need me, but the space is yours to create and do whatever you want. And in regards to this as well, I don't know how many people have heard of this, probably everyone, but create an error-tolerant environment. So that means like, if you're failing, you're trying. Like, you're totally fine to make mistakes. This is okay. Get creative, be independent, take something, and learn it and do it my way. I probably know how to do it best, but then you can learn. But you're there to give the basics of it. 3, motivating. I have to read off my piece of paper. This is a quote. Okay, so if you want to build a ship, don't drum up people together to collect wood and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. I was with the Lobo Plantation for 3 years and it was a great run. And one of the things that I learnt from there was the importance of values. I really liked when Jane got up and she talked about her tenants, their personal values. That's all it is. And we should be doing these as teams. We should be coming together as a collective, as assigned time and saying, what is it that we believe in? Owners together, perfect example again, should be coming together and recognizing the things that they want and then passing them on through the staff. If you involve your team in the end goal, it's so obvious, but like they're going to be more motivated to be a part of it. And another quote, but Richard Branson once said, train people so well that they can leave, but treat them well enough that they don't. Simple, so obvious. If you lead in fear and not out of love, if you say like, oh, I don't want to train this person, or I don't want to teach this person too much, or I don't want them to know too much about the business, they're going to look for it elsewhere. That desire isn't going to dissipate. They're just going to find it elsewhere. So when you're making decisions and investing in staff, make sure that you're leading out of like a really positive place and not out of a negative. Oh, no, that's not right. Oh. That's okay, that's fine. That's like a couple of numbers, but that's fine. Okay, cool. Good thing I'm on my piece of paper. All right, handling conflict. Oh, God. Human nature, fucking hate it. Horrible. Even the people that are like, oh my God, I love firing people, are psychopaths, or they're liars. There's no middle ground. I would just say, figure out what your end goal is and work back from it. Conflict makes us so uncomfortable, and when we work in a bar, when we work in a venue or a team, everything feels personal. You feel personally slighted against. Even if they haven't done something wrong, how could they do that to you? They know how hard you work. They know how invested you are in that venue, and that is so upsetting. So if you're able to look at the situation, figure out what your end goal is and work back from there, it displaces you in a positive way and it enables you to put the business as the first priority and then able to like put that as the priority and work towards what your end goal is. Great. 5, communicating. Communicating. Oh God, I said I wasn't going to say this, but now I'm saying it in my head. So has anyone heard of love languages? Right, good. All the women are like, yes, that bitch. All right, so communicating is a lot like love languages, right? We all have them, but essentially what it means is that I as an individual give information and receive information in potentially 2 different ways, potentially 4 different ways. So I might be maybe comfortable communicating orally, but receiving information, I work really well with reading things. A perfect example would be, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you've been in a team where we've decided to like rehaul an entire cocktail menu at the same time, and everyone has to learn like 12 new drinks, and you give everyone, you go through the training, everyone does it, and then over the next week, you're gonna watch everyone divide. You're gonna watch some people jump in the deep end. You're gonna watch some people step straight up and just make every drink bang, bang, bang. All they recommend is house cocktails for that week. Maybe they choose 1 drink a night. Doesn't matter what you want. Doesn't matter if it's tall and dry or short and sweet. They're getting that drink. And they're gonna make that drink over and over again. Maybe you step into the disabled toilet, AKA the staff room, and you're gonna find someone sitting on the floor, eating a sandwich over a dishwasher, and also writing out the specs because they're rote learners. Maybe you're gonna see someone in the middle of service talking through the drink, orally communicating again and again, impressioning in them. Or maybe what you'll see is people wrapping colored tape around bottles because visually they're able to differentiate, pick up the bottles, and then learn from that way. So just a reminder that like when you're communicating to people, that you might be saying the right thing, but it might be missing them completely because it's just not the way that they receive information. So just take that in. Number 6 is building rapport. So you guys, again, super great. The whole thing with their style of service, Tio's style of service, is the same way that you want to treat the people that you work with. Do you want to know the easiest way to build a relationship with someone? Be genuine. Be nice, engage with them, ask questions, show interest, and again, 50-50 split, yin-yang, pendulum, whatever you want to call it, you need to give in order to receive. So if you show up at the end of service and you're like, so, what's your relationship with your mum like? How's your relationship with your girlfriends? Like, what are you doing on the weekend? What about this? What do you think of this? Da-da-da-da. And then you're like, okay, great, see you later. And this person doesn't feel a connection because they feel ravaged, right? You need to show up. And also the other tip of that pendulum is that like, if you show up and you're like, oh, this is a relationship with my mum, and this is how I feel about my girlfriend, and this is the person that I didn't like in shift, and these are the things that I get really excited about, then that person also feels like, that wasn't an exchange at all. I just sat here and listened to you talk about the things that you really, really like. So again, finding that middle balance of showing up, being interested, being genuine, and exchange for sure. People just want to feel valued and understood. That's it. And when we get served, we just want to feel comfortable and seen. That's it. Like, take it back to those basics. Oh my God, number 7, empathize. Great. 22 minutes, how good. I was like, I'm not going to make 7. All right, I will hurry up. Empathize is the last one. Remember what it was like when you were a bartender. You burnt the candle at both ends. You did not exercise as much as you needed to. You probably had quite addictive tendencies. You were more self-involved than you are now. We're all self-involved. But your value systems have changed. So they say that like as we get older, we value money less and time more. Sure, I'll take any money that anyone wants to give me. But all I just want to say on this is that things that we do value are time, money, experience, and gifts. So use these as incentives, you know, early finishes, bonuses, time with the bosses, mentoring, beers after work, non-seed-lip, whatever you want to do. But you need to remember that like your value system as a manager, now that you're getting paid more, or now as an owner, now that you're stressed more and making more or less money, you got to take it back. It breaks my heart every time I've ever heard a manager say like, oh, get him to do the open. Yeah, but he's also on the close, and that's his 4th close of the week. Oh yeah, so what's another open? Like, honestly, it makes my heart hurt. So I would just say, like, just remember that you are not You're not leading someone in the same financial position as you, emotional position as you, mental position as you. So just be nice. And the kicker of all of it is that human beings are fickle creatures. So we can smell counterfeit sincerity a mile off. If you are not genuine, don't bother. Like, that's it. Stop, don't force it. If you're not sincere with your intentions, it's all going to be felt, whether that's in service or whether that is someone that you're leading. This isn't a TED Talk. I don't have a magical solution to a problem. I just really wanted to get up on stage and just to remind people to treat others the way that you want to be treated. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're in an industry that has moved really, really quickly. And now we're in this place where we are having careers, and it is going to span 40 years, fingers crossed, if we look after ourselves. And it's not bad that we have been prioritising creativity and product knowledge and all of these kinds of things. But we're knee deep in the new age now. Now is the time to really be nurturing relationships and connections and mentoring and investing in our staff and learning how to communicate correctly, learning how to receive information correctly, and leading by example.